We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hello, I'm Roy Spalding, Republican Committee Chair from Chester. Thank you for coming today. I'd like to thank Rob, Roger, Chloe, all the staff at the Fullerton Inn for helping us put this event on. I'd also like to let you know how this event started. We originally started this event was going to try to be a front porch forum for, we invited both candidates. Both are from Chester. Unfortunately, Ms. Chase declined to participate. So we had to change the venue up a little bit. You know, it's a little bit different than what originally was out. So from that, you know, we're just very, very excited to have Tom Charlton, a great community member who's devoted a ton of time throughout his life to the city, to the town of Chester, the kids, scouts, numerous things. I think he's exactly what Windham County needs. You need somebody who's a community-minded member that cares about every one of the community. It's easy to say you do, but it's a lot harder to do it. He has known how to do this his entire life, ever since he was young. You know, he's, like I said, he's exactly what Windham County needs, and every town, we get the ring out of this thing, every town in the state does. So with that, it kind of leads us into where we're at. We have a special guest speaker. He has been a lifelong Chester, very important to the town of Chester his entire life. He's a Vietnam vet. He's been the state police from 1969 to 1996, where he retired as a captain in the Vermont State Police. He's on a select board in town for 15 years. He taught at Green Mountain High School for years, as well as softball coach and much more to many different people along the way. I'd like to introduce you to retired police captain Mike LeClaire.
I first of all would like to say thank you to the Spaldings for their commitment to bringing people together. This is something that I have not seen in Chester, Vermont in the last, about 45 years. This is the beginning, and this is a year that I think we can make a difference. I'm very proud to be a lifelong Vermonter. And I heard a little while back that our governor, I'm so proud of him. 83% favorable governor, that's #1 in the United States. But I am also very dismayed that our governor needs our help as much as he does at this point. In the history of Vermont, we had 1 or 2 governor vetoes overridden by our legislature. This year we had 6 out of 7 in 1 week. Our governor, love him to death, he needs our help. And I think this is the year that we can actually put that together. This is the year that we can really make a difference by not being combative, by being able to negotiate with our adversaries at times in order to get some things done in our legislature. Things that are agreeable with the majority of Vermonters. This is a goal, I think, for me and for every one of us that came here without their snowmobile suits tonight. I'm proud of you. This is my first day with jeans and no shorts and t-shirts. But overall, if we want to make a difference, we're going to need people such as this man right here, Tom Charlton.
Thanks, Mike. Hi, neighbors. So, this is a little bit new for me. I have written this little speech thingy about 8 times, and I keep tossing it out and writing it over again, because how do you condense a half a century of watching Vermont into like 10 or 15 minutes? You don't, except maybe to say, oh my goodness. We are certainly in a unique point in time. Our politics has never been free from, well, politics. Can't hear me? Okay, I'm used to working with youth, so I'm used to being able to make my voice do the work. Can you hear me out there on the street? Okay. The first thing you need to know, folks, is that I do not have a magic Montpelier wand that I can go up there and transform the place into an environment such that Vermonters rule the world. Number one, I have no interest in doing that. And number two, while we have always had contention, we've always had disagreements as to what our issues are and how to prioritize them and how to solve them, we've never had an environment quite like this one either. And if there's anything that I have learned in all the years I've been here in Chester, it is to listen to people, to listen to their stories, to listen to what their families are going through, to listen to the decisions they have to make, to listen to the challenges that you face. And for me to go to Montpelier, I take 3 essential goals. And all of the issues fall kind of within these 3 goals. And these 3 goals depend on who everybody sends up there and what the team is when I get there. The first threshold is maybe I'm the only elephant in the room when I get there. And I've thought about that when I can't sleep at night, thinking about these things. If I am the only person there who is a middle-class working Vermonter, I will at least be a voice for middle-class working Vermonters who are keeping our houses together, paying the bills, figuring out how to pay the next bills, and trying to balance your checkbook. I'll at least be a voice in the room if I'm the only one there. I'll be there to represent you. I don't have a big social agenda. I don't have a crusade to go on. I'm not going up there to pick fights. I'm not really going up there to win fights. I'm going up there to help try to find some solutions and to hear what everybody has got to say, because it's not just us. We have our concerns. I don't think they're being heard lately. Everybody else has their concerns too. And I remember a day, like many of you do, when politicians would hammer out some kind of compromise that people could at least get on with, instead of winner takes all. That's not my style. The second threshold is this, and I think it is an important one. If enough people are elected, enough seats change, so that we can at least break the supermajority. This is important for Vermont, because when you have a supermajority, you do not have as much incentive to listen, to negotiate, to compromise, or for that matter, even to respect or pay attention to somebody who doesn't agree with you. This has been a very expensive legislative session. It's been a little bit of a shopping spree, except that they're using your card and mine when they get to the cash register. It needs, I feel like that's got to slow down a bit, because I don't hear a please or a thank you coming from Montpelier. I hear, you're welcome, we taxed you $10 million less than we were going to originally. I'm not sure that is quite the tone I was waiting for. Like, sorry about that, would be better, don't you think? Our governor, and I'll tell you that I waited until I knew whether Phil Scott was going to run again to make my decision. He is the most popular governor in the country. Our supermajority at the moment seems to have forgotten that it was a lot of their constituents who elected that governor. And the disregard that they've had for what he has been telling them about what working class Vermonters can and can't afford has been disregarded, and they should be a little bit insulted. The third kind of threshold for success is going to require a lot of reaching across the aisle. And I could stand here and tell you, oh, I have an answer for everything, but I don't. What I want to do is hear what you need to be done in Montpelier. What are your concerns? What are the things the state needs to back off on or work a little harder at? I'm your representative. And I'm a Republican for a long time, but I understand that I am not going there to represent the Republican Party. I'm going there to represent the whole community, all four of them that are here. The issues are the issues. How we solve them is going to take some creativity. It's going to take some patience, and it's going to take some frugality, because we can't just afford to dig deeper into this bottomless money pit that's called the taxpayer, which I haven't met yet. In simple, the issues are infrastructure. Public safety and infrastructure, that benefits absolutely everybody, both sides of the aisle. It doesn't matter where you live in this state. You need to be safe, you need to be able to get places, you need to be able to get your work done. And I think the towns could use a little more help from the state. I know some of the towns in our district haven't seen any additional highway funds for like a decade, and they need it. The taxes, this could be a very long subject, but I won't make it one. We have the lowest gross domestic product in GDP in the country, depending on what rating you look at. We're in the bottom 5 for actually producing goods. We're somewhere middling for family income, and that's for 2 reasons. One, some of the family incomes are really rather high and pulling the average up, and because we're all more or less in the service industry and doing work for each other and for everyone else. Our per capita tax burden is second in the country only to Washington, D.C., which is almost double ours. And I can understand why, having been there. How you count dollars in taxes depends on a lot of different factors, and it's hard to pin exactly where we are in that list. But it's suffice to say, we're middling income-wise, we are high tax-wise. And we are high enough. That has to be answered by some very cost-effective soul-searching. Now, I don't like laying people off. I don't like cutting programs. I don't want to leave somebody in need if they are in need. But we got to be a lot more responsible. And we've got to be a lot more careful when we ask the taxpayer for more and more and more, or we're all going to need affordable housing. They better build a lot of it. Education. Please, that's my first reply. Good education, good academic education. Please pay attention to the education reform and the committees that have been set up to study it and the proposals that are coming down the pike, because I'll tell you now, some of the things that they are considering is what schools can they close to cut costs. And that may be a way to cut the budget, but you know what that does to a community. We got to find, I don't think that's the solution, but they are already studying which schools have the facilities to hold more students, where are they located to cut down on the transportation, and how can we eliminate schools and lower the budget that way. It's a disaster with every community that comes to. It's painful, and it is not good for the neighborhood. That being said, we were told when Act 60 went through in the current education financing plan that we use, a concern was raised that we would lose local control over education. Do some of you remember that? And we were told, oh no, local school boards will continue to be in charge. But the number of state-mandated curricula, state-mandated, you have to follow this regulation, and the interference really with the classroom has gone up and up and up and up and up. So on behalf of teachers, leave them alone, let them teach their subject. What we want is academic performance out of the schools. And you can ask me about this afterwards, because I can talk for a very long time on this. I am pro-education. I am not pro-political agendas in the classroom. It's expensive, it's disturbing, and it becomes a battleground for who controls it. Act 250 is something that I got a front row seat to this last year. Being in the building trades, I got to do an Act 250 permit, and it was a simple one, relatively speaking, not relative to the rest of my life. It is it's something, again, that you need to watch. To create affordable housing, we're removing some of these. Hey, how are you? We're lifting the restrictions in the places that are already developed that make sense. We're making allowances so that towns can zone to allow for affordable housing, and that makes sense. They are also shifting some of the weight onto the rural areas of Vermont, which is 90% of us. If you own land in Vermont, you better pay attention to the recommendations that are being made. And even if you don't, or you own only a small part, and you're not likely to ever have a 20-lot subdivision, which is not most of us, watch how they are approaching the zoning that Act 250 will create in your communities. Wildlife corridors, river corridors, wetlands. If it squishes, it's going to wind up on their list. And when that land is no longer developable, and somebody says, my tax assessment is too high, and they drop it accordingly, guess whose tax bill goes up? Is everybody else. And do I have a simple solution to that? No, not necessarily. But watch for the problems that the solutions are creating. We can't just come up with a solution and create 4 more problems. It just escalates down the road. We need to simplify. We need to simplify Act 250 so that a small project isn't doing all of the same paperwork that City Place in Burlington is doing. Because there's a functional disparity between you and me and the big developer. And the big developer who can afford to hire someone else to do their Act 250 permit, they'll do it if they can make enough money. If you don't happen to have deep pockets or an awful lot of free time to do it on your own, it might as well be a roadblock, okay? It only works if you've got deep pockets or an awful lot of time. Now, that being said, everybody I've talked to at the state involved with Act 250, all of the different agencies, the different people that help go through the process, they're wonderful. But the people working on it, they're great. But we need to make their jobs simpler and our lives a little bit simpler, and you need to watch what this land use reform does to what you can and can't do with a piece of property. So let me ask you this. Have you bought your heating oil yet? You're all thinking about it right now. Have you pre-bought it for next year? All right, 70 cents a gallon for heating oil to fund the Clean Heat Act is probably, as we understand it, that's a low estimate. It's a low estimate, and even if it comes at 50 cents a gallon, it's still expensive. And if you're already, let me say for the people who are already trying to figure out, do I buy the oil this month? Do I pay Green Mountain Power this month? And how do I move this around? And how many days do we eat rice and hot dogs? That's not a good place to be taxing. That's a necessity. What I do remember is Vermont from 50 years ago. It was resourceful, stubbornly independent. It was a culture of pretty much everybody minding their own business unless there was an emergency, and then everybody shows up with a covered dish or to help put a barn back up. It was local governance. And I'm not sure I feel the local end of it a whole lot anymore. I feel the state giving a lot more direction than it's taking. And some restraint has to be in order. A little bit of frugality has to be in order. We do not have to be the first state in the country to do everything. We already have the lowest carbon footprint of any state in the country. But our clean, was it the Global Warming Solutions Act, holds a provision such that anybody can sue the state of Vermont if we don't reach the goals that they set in that act. Do you know how expensive that could get? That is not representative government, that is adversarial government. And it is not appropriate to hold a fiscal gun to your political opponents or to your constituency. It needs to go away. You can't fine people who are already ahead of the curve because they don't go a little bit further. It's not like we don't want to protect the environment. Sure. Rather than just give you, a summary of my frustrations, which really is a lot of my political experience, let me say it again. We have got to go up there and do this ourselves. We've got to engage in the conversation with everybody else that's involved. We're going to have to come up with some compromises. We're going to have to learn to stop bickering and finger pointing and carrying on in politics like we might have in, like I might have in junior high. I won't talk about any of you, although I was there with some of you. In 1774, the first of my family was actually born on Vermont soil. So we were here. I wasn't. Okay, you can do the math. We were here when the colonies of New Hampshire and New York could not agree whose land this was to give away or whose prerogative it was to come over and levy taxes. And the folks at the time, in a variety of ways, let them know that we're not really interested in being part of either one of you. After the revolution, and 14 years later, after doing our own thing for 14 years, they were still trying to decide whether we would be part of New Hampshire or New York. And we informed them that, no, we're going to be our own state or we're going to join Canada. Not that we were that fond of Canada, because we told them forthright, you're plan B. And we won't have anything to do with you if you think we're going to be part of Quebec. We're going to be our own province, which is the other conversation going on in diplomatic channels at the time. The point being, we have a long history of doing this ourselves. We will govern ourselves, thank you very much. We will figure this out ourselves, thank you very much. And we're going to have to do this ourselves, all of us, including our neighbors, including people on the other side of the aisle, or someone else is going to do whatever they want. So my question to you, and let me tell you what, if you vote for me, I expect you to be there to help get this job done. Because I can't memorize everything, I can't read everything, I don't know every single bill that's ever been written. So when there's something that involves the environment, I want to hear from the loggers, I want to hear from the environmentalists, I want to hear from the landowners. If it's something that involves legality, I want to hear from people in the legal profession. If it's something regarding law enforcement or public safety, I want to hear from the career people that are there. I want to hear from the people who are concerned about it. You need to tell me what our priorities are for me to take it to Montpelier. I'm just a messenger, but I'm just going to be your messenger. If you hire me, I'll do it. Thanks. And I'll see you inside.
Well, I'm glad I didn't have to follow that act. We have a few others that are running for different offices here. We have VL Coffin, he's in the back. It's running for House seat. Andrea Murray is running for Senate. We have Jack Williams, also running for Senate, all Windsor County. And I don't know, is Jonathan here? I guess not yet. But I will turn this over to Rob.
Well, since I'm the only thing standing between you guys and some snacks and or drinks, I'll make this very brief. So first of all, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rob Ambrose. I'm the owner of the Fullerton Inn. And I can tell you, I am truly honored that Roy and the entire group chose us as the venue for this event. It means a great deal. That being said, as Tom said, he's going to be inside for face-to-face, taking questions, etc. As a result, we are offering a light fare menu tonight in the tavern. We are open tonight. As many of you know, we're not usually on a Sunday, so come on in and join us. Come on in and get warm. If you're hungry or thirsty or a little bit of both, come on in. We'd love to have you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thanks for your time.